मध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् नारायणसमारम्भाम् आचार्यत्रयमध्यमाम् अस्मदाचार्यपर्यन्तां वन्दे गुरुपरम्पराम् नाहं कर्ता हरिः कर्ता पूजा कर्मचाखिलं यद्यत् कर्म करोमि तत्तदखिलं शम्भो तवाराधनम्। ओम नमो भगवते शिवानंदाय, ओम नमो भगवते चिदानंदाय, ओम नमो भगवते कृष्णानंदाय, ओम नमो नारायणाय, ओम नमः शिवाय. It's a matter of great blessing, great benediction of Gurudev to be sitting in the sacred premises of Yoga Vedanta Forest Academy, which was established, as you know, by Gurudev Swami Shivanji Maharaj in the year 1948. And at that time, the senior saints of the Swamiji, including Swami Jayantbhai Maharaj, Swami Krishnaji Maharaj, they used to be the faculty. And earlier it was Yoga Vedanta Forest University, but later on, because of some administrative reasons, this name was changed to Academy, where this education in the field of Yoga and Vedanta is happening in a formal, but not the university type institutionalized manner. So it's a great blessing for you all to be able to take part, in this program and not just learn academically, but just sitting in the spiritual presence, of a guru who is not Shrotriya but Brahmanishta Guru, who has realized the supreme reality by his intense austerities and leading a spiritual life, and those vibrations are very much alive. And as we know, all the great sages, they impart their teachings in two ways. What are they? First thing is by leading those values in their own lives. So that is said that whenever you want to learn anything good, we should read the autobiography or even the biography of the great sages and the great people. Because all that they have to say, all that they have digested is personified in their lives, So that's the first thing which we can see. And second thing is, the teachings. So whenever you want to go to any unknown place, we first ask somebody, what is the route, where should we go? So that is just like reading their lives. And when we are walking on that particular path, if there are some intricacies, then again, the teachings come to help. And Guru never dies, they always live by the teachings. They always live by their followers, by the disciples. By the way, before we start this, it just comes to my mind, that these words are looking quite similar, When you say devotees, when you say followers, when you say disciples, are these equivalent words or there is difference in them? What do you consider highest, by the way, When you say, I am the well-wisher, I am the devotee, I am the follower, I am the disciple. These are the words which are more or less overlapping, not that they are very exclusive, but there is some little meaning in that also. What is considered the highest? All words are good. See, devotee, you can be devoted to anything. Any person who is good, any subject which is good, not your own subject also, you can be devotee for that, correct? So devotion is the starting point. But discipleship is something, which is considered as the supreme state of submission, because Gurudeva's teachings or any saint's teachings also, if you consider. So one thing is Sandesh, that is general message to each and everybody, right? And to disciples are the ones, who will own up everything that is said by Guru. So sometimes, in one particular program, I was just listening to say, and one teacher asking the students, that how many percentage of Gurudeva's or saints teaching you imbibed in life? And he will say 90%, 95%, and he will feel very happy. And the teacher said, no, you have failed. If you are a disciple, it has to be 100%. It can't be 95%. So completely own up, whatever he says, and that becomes a part and parcel of the life. That is discipleship. That's the highest level of submission. And I think we should all aspire to become disciple of Gurudev Swami Shivanji Maharaj or any self-realized sage and attain the supreme goal of life. And that is what Arjuna also did, So when last 3 courses I used to come here, the responsibility was about Swami Shivananda's life and teaching, a subject which is very dear to me. But this time, because of some other administrative reasons, I am here for a few days. So I was told that why don't you have some little interaction about Bhagavad Gita and more particularly the way Swami Shivanji Maharaj has talked about that, correct? So I have no set idea, nor am I a great philosopher or exponent, as Swamiji said. I'm just like you. I was a student, I am a student, I will continue to be a student of spiritual subjects. But whatever little I have gained, I just want to share with you. It is said, that in this life, there is nothing so sacred, so sanctifying as knowledge. Nahi jnana sadrusham pavitra me vidyate. That is what is stated in Bhagavad Gita also. Why? Because knowledge is bliss simultaneously. We call it Chidananda, correct? So knowledge and bliss, they are not different entities. Absolute knowledge is absolute bliss. So all problems of life, which are there, whether secular life, professional life, or spiritual life, can be resolved with the aid of right knowledge. The problems are also because of lack of right knowledge. And the resolution is also because of the acquisition and adaptation of the right knowledge. So knowledge in our life comes in three different ways. The first thing is generation of knowledge, creation of knowledge. And all artists, all scientists, all the great sages, in one way or the other, by their intense self-application or by intuition, they are able to create some knowledge. And mankind is indebted to those people, who are creating the knowledge. So the first group of persons are those who, in one way or the other, create the knowledge. The knowledge, as you know, can be paravidya or aparavidya also. These words are known to you, correct? So, what would you call as paravidya? Supreme knowledge. Where do we find that? When we see the scriptures, for example, if you read Bhagavad Gita, or even if you read Upanishad, what you call Prasthanatraya or Brahma Sutra, the normal impression is, the knowledge is imparted in this holy text is paravidya, and all that we learn about the art, science, management, engineering, all different sciences that is secular is aparavidya, like that we call. The great sages, they say that the knowledge which is imparted in these scriptures, be it religion, God, Ishvara, different forms, is also aparavidya, unless and until that is intimately appreciated and imbibed in our life. This intimate appreciation is an English word, correct? What shall we call in Hindi, for example, to be absorb it better? This knowledge, if I say intimately appreciate, what does it mean? Reading is fine, that is Atmasat, that's the word that is used, correct? So that becomes intrinsic to you. That is not something outside you. So that particular thing is intimate appreciation of the knowledge. So that is something very important, and that all these scriptures, whatever message is given, when that does not become different from ourselves, we become part of that knowledge. Not that we know it, but we become the knowledge itself, So that state is called as paravidya. That is the goal. And this Bhagavad Gita, thousands of people have written commentary. People like you and I also can make our expressions. Everything is fine. And intellectual knowledge is also not bad. Aparavidya is not bad. They say intellectual idealism also leads to spiritual or the divine idealism. So nothing wrong in learning it in theory or the intellectual level. But that has to become a subject matter of our immediate intuitive experience. Then that knowledge is complete. And in that sense, even scientists and artists also, in so-called secular subjects also, they are able to intimately appreciate the knowledge. That's the ultimate knowledge. So first thing is acquisition of knowledge, creation of the knowledge. Second group is users of the knowledge. That for some reasons we are not able to create. It's okay, but somebody has created. Some wise man has created that knowledge. Why do I not take up that knowledge and put it a part of my life? So that is what everybody should be doing. All students in school, colleges should be doing. We should also be trying to do. Correct? So somebody has created, somebody has put up. So in life also they say that if you don't research or create a new molecule, a new product, you can at least follow what is good done. Correct? So here users are there. And everybody should try to do that. And everybody should try to be at all three levels, But the first part is you should use. And what is in between? There are creators of knowledge, users of knowledge. And what is in between? Communicators of knowledge. Correct? So even if I am not able to create, but even if I am able to communicate, what is created, then it can bring some good benefit to somebody, and the person also stands to benefit. And in the process, I will benefit, So it is not that when I am communicating, the recipient is benefiting. That is a very one part of it. But most important is I am benefiting. So communicating is very important. So Swami Chinmayanji Maharaj, whenever he started giving his discourse on Bhagavad Gita, and he said that audience, I am the first audience. I am the speaker and I am the first audience. I am the first listener. Others may or may not listen, but I am definitely listening to what I am saying. So that communication of knowledge, that is also a very great service. So we should try to be at all three in our life, Wherever possible, we should try to create. Wherever possible, we always try to use whatever is relevant to us. And wherever possible, we should try to communicate. So communication helps both ways, using as well as generation of the knowledge. Correct? So when this such a great knowledge, which is the highest epitome, pinnacle of life spiritual, is given by Lord. In that case, we should creation already done by Lord. All that we can need to do is we need to be a good communicator and we need to be a good user. Correct? And in the process, although it is said, but by virtue of interpretation, there can be, it is not that something is given so there is no further scope of creation. We can have our own revelation. We can have our own subjective expression also. That is also creation. Correct? So be it Bhagavad Gita or be it any other thing, we should try to do these things, try to create knowledge, try to communicate and try to use. And that is why dissemination of spiritual knowledge, dissemination of cultural knowledge, that is one of the professed objectives of Divine Life Society. And for that, there are many spiritual missions. Even if you go to Chinmaya mission, this is the only thing, correct? Dissemination of spiritual knowledge. That is one thing. That is a humble attempt, that we just try to do that, whatever way we understand. And when should we do that? Is it that once we completely acquire the knowledge, we should do that? Or we should be doing it along the process of learning? So there is no way, we can say that we attain perfection and then we'll try to do. That may be the ideal most thing to do. But that won't be possible in life, So we can keep learning, we can keep sharing like that, And sharing of knowledge also is a very great service and more than any other thing also, this serving of knowledge is considered very, very vital. So that is the goal. Now we'll just take to this little book, which is a commentary on Bhagavad Gita by Swami Shivanji Maharaj. As you know, that Bhagavad Gita is considered to be among the Prasthanatraya, correct? And those who are the followers of Sanatana Dharma or Satya Sanatana Vedic Dharma, they are supposed to read these three Prasthanatraya. That is Upanishad, which is the end of the Vedas, and that gives the essence and the knowledge of the ultimate reality. Then you have the Brahma Sutra, which talks about the relationship between Jiva, Jagat and Ishvara and the different interpretation. And then we have got this Bhagavad Gita. And as you all know, Bhagavad Gita, as you must have heard several times, and I will say somebody, that do not, somebody was saying about Sanskrit, in that sense, that do not speak about Sanskrit, speak in Sanskrit, like that, he was saying. So we always glorify some very great language, this and that, but you don't use it, so that doesn't help. So likewise, in Bhagavad Gita also, we may say the essence of Vedas, Scream Upanishad, this and that, but you just glorify it, but if you don't read, that doesn't make any sense, correct? So main thing is we should just try to see the way we understand, correct? And in the process, it's a path to perfection. So, several later steps are there, and ultimately we'll go to that. So everybody has given their commentary, and even you and I also, if we wish, we understand, we can also do that. And all the acharyas, Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, Vallabhacharya, Madhvacharya, who gave different interpretations of Vedanta, they have also written commentary on Bhagavad Gita. And Swami Shivanji Maharaj also has written it, and he has also said, that those people who are very much, active temperament, that Gita Rahasya, Gopal Gangadhar Tilak, those who are greatly devoted, they can read about Sridhar Swamiji's Tika, and those who are intellectually, very profound, and they always want a very logical, creative interpretation, they should read Adi Shankara. I hope many of you are very scholarly person, you studied also, but that is my feeling also, that only when we read Shankar Bhashya, the study of Bhagavad Gita is complete. And it takes us to gradually higher and higher steps, but that takes us very close to the absolute reality. And for that matter, Swami Shivanji Maharaj also, at many places he has said that Adi Shankara is my guru, and he has always followed him, his commentary in his book on Bhagavad Gita also. And in Swami Shivanji Maharaj's life also, as you know, that when he was in Malaya, and when he was doing very great charitable professional practice, of a kind which is very unique. At that time, there is one book called, the Jiva Brahma Aikya, by some Swami Satchidananda of Kadappa, came to his hands, and that became instrumental. That sparked the whole spiritual life, So, just little slightly outside the point, but just I'm reminded to tell you this. I feel like telling you this. When you say that the flame of light burnt in him. So likewise, in our own selves also, that Atma Jyoti, that Jnana Jyoti is always burning. And that is the divinity within us. Now, many of you have studied physical science also, correct? So what does it take to make a fire? If you just want to light a fire, what are the requirements? One is oxygen, that's fine, correct? Unless and until you have the oxygen or the air, fire cannot subsist. So that is why when you don't douse the fire, you just put a cloth, and in that case the fire is doused. So oxygen or air contains 21% oxygen, so that is one thing. And why? Because all burning chemical is an oxidation. As you know, the carbon becomes carbon monoxide, dioxide, sulfur becomes sulfur dioxide, nitrogen becomes nitrogen dioxide. So it is an oxidation process. Fire chemically is an oxidation process. So you need oxygen. What else? Huh? Fuel, okay. So fuel is called combustible material, ignitable material. So many materials, they are combustible, ignitable. So you need ignitable material, and then only, it can happen. So, Ignition, okay. Ignition means spark. Ignition means spark. So, even if you have got a combustible material, even if you have got oxygen, but unless and until that spark is there, fire will not happen. And that is why, whenever these lights are there, you switch on, switch off, the spark is there generated. And that spark can also cause fire. That spark is very important. But here we talk about positive spark, which has to happen. So if we keep on studying these and that, someday that spark will come. And that is also called intuition. That is also called antaprajna, correct? So at any point of time, that spark can arise. And then that particular flame will keep on burning. So what is the combustible material, by the way? What is oxygen? In our case, oxygen, this is not written anywhere. This is how we can interpret, correct? So oxygen is all sadhyaya, what we do, satsanga, what we do. That's a kind of oxygen, because it keeps on supplying. If you stop that, the flame will become dull, dim. And what is combustible material? Combustible. Scriptures, okay, but scriptures are not in a way within us. So all that we gain from the scriptures book in terms of sanskaras, in terms of impressions that we have, vasanas that we have, that is like combustible material, correct? So if you have good sanskaras, that will lead to divine fire. If you have bad sanskaras, it will not do that. And as you all know, very basic thing, that if something happens in life, that you have memory for some time, correct? But after some time, what will happen? That incident will be forgotten. But the impressions will be there. And that is called as sanskara. So sanskaras do not die down. Even if the physical body falls down also, sanskaras will remain, for several births. For those good sanskaras which you have inhaled, or which you have inherited rather, and which you have cultivated in this life, they will be the ones which will be like combustible material with the aid of satsanga and swadhyaya. That can come. And spark can come. So here that spark can come from only a realized person, We can do other things, but that spark will come from realized person. And only when that live fire, can lighten the other fire. So that is why the need of a guru. And unless and until we have a guru, see, even in our formal subjects, secular subjects also, unless we go to a guru, we may not be able to get the right thing, correct? And in case of spiritual subject matter, guru is important first for de-learning what we have learned. That's a big problem, right? Everybody thinks, I know. So that is a big problem that I know. It is good to know something, but to wrongly understand that I know is a bigger problem. It is better. It was than ignorance. Ignorant man can be very easily taught. But if a man has got a perverted knowledge and he thinks I know and he doesn't know, then that's a bigger problem. So when you go to any scripture, any sage, the first thing they do is de-learn. Even in our secular subject it happens, that what you do not know, what you know wrongly has to be erased first. So he eliminates that. And later on, all that sanskara that we have, they are brightened up. And that is why they say that Kshotriya and Brahmanishta. These words also are known to you, correct? That we should go to a guru who is Kshotriya and Brahmanishta. Kshotriya is the one who is well versed in the scriptures and the subject matter, and Brahmanishta is the one who has intimately appreciated. Correct? So even in our science, noble art subjects also, we should go to a teacher who is well versed and yes, practice that particular knowledge. Here the teacher is Bhagavan himself, So everything that we say, Brahmanishta is beyond all other words and description, correct? But that's the beauty. So here, Swami Shivananda Maharaj starts by offering prayers to Bhagavan Vyasa, because it is he who has done a great service, and whatever Lord Krishna said to Arjuna and through Sanjaya that became known to mankind, he has just recorded it in form of that Bhagavad Gita, which happens to be part of the Bhishma Parva of Mahabharata. Correct? And besides that, he has just composed all these Upanishads as well as Brahma Sutram. So he is the spiritual father of our Sanatana Dharma. So he pays prostrations to him. Namostute Vyasa Vishala Buddhe. That Vyasa Vishala Buddhe is a man of very wide intellect. Fullara Vinda Yatapatra Netram. Just like a full-blown lotus, the petal, that is his personality. Yena Tvaya Bharatvaila Purana Prajvalito Jnana Maya Pradipa. What we just talked, that lamp, light of knowledge, is that. Now, what is that Bharata Taila Purna? So Bharat Taila Purna is, that particular lamp is lit and the oil is in form of Bharata is Mahabharata here. Correct? So in form of Mahabharata, this oil is there. So what is he trying to say here is that Mahabharata and Bhagavad Gita have to be seen in conjunction. If we read Bhagavad Gita, or if we only directly start with Bhagavad Gita without knowing the background of Mahabharata, it will not give the true meaning. What kind of a dispensation, what kind of a problems, mental torture and all those experiences, and how that Vishada came into him, unless we know the context of Mahabharata, Bhagavad Gita will not be understood. And without Bhagavad Gita, Mahabharata also will have no meaning. It will also become just like any other story which will be remembered for some time and forgotten. So it is the Bhagavad Gita which vitalizes and gives strength to Mahabharata, and it is Mahabharata which gives relevance to Bhagavad Gita. Correct? So that is something very important, and we'll just try to see, and that is why in the first chapter only, that this despondency, this Vishada and Shoka which Arjuna has, so many people think, that this is okay. I mean, the real Bhagavad Gita starts from chapter number 2. That's how many people think. But then this chapter number 1 is very, very important. Because ultimately it addresses the human problem. It shows what are the problems which you are facing. And if that is not there, if that is not exposed, that is not revealed, what is the context or what is the significance of the whole other thing? Correct? So we'll just see that part also right now. But since it's just come to my mind, let me just speak at this stage only. Correct? So when did Bhagavan start giving teaching? Everybody normally will think, that in the second chapter, when he says, Asochyanu Sochutum Pragnavadansya Bhasase, he says that you are just talking like a scholar, but not behaving in that way. That is the way Bhagavan teaches. That is how everybody thinks. But when I heard the lecture of one particular Mahatma, I found that there are so many subtleties. And again I tell you, Bhagavad Gita is not a very simple book to follow. In one way, Swamiji will say that it is very simple language, anybody can follow, very easy to grasp like that, But at the same time, it has so much of profundity that even a highly scholarly person, even if he has read for the whole life, he will not be able to get to the fathom of that. Such intricate things are there. The more you know what you do not know, like that, So he was saying that when did he start giving messages? And then we normally say in the second chapter when he said this, that you are grieving for things what you should not grieve like that. That's the first teaching official. But he said, no, sometimes God teaches in silence, he said, And that is the beauty of our scriptures. We know that Dakshinamurti Bhagavan, he imparted teaching to his disciples in silence. Now, in today's time, we cannot understand how can you teach in silence, And Mahapurushas also say that, you can teach in silence. Chidananda Swamiji Maharaj also once said, that silence is the best form of teaching. Only when you cannot do it in silence, you have to take help of reading, writing, and all those tools are there. So he said, why should there be all these shastras and everything? Silence is the best thing. And again he said that as long as we live in the world of duality, multiplicity, we give weightage and we give truthfulness to it. That Dvaita is something what we consider as real. And that is why the need for reading, writing, lecturing, all those things are there. But if that is not there, in that case, silence is the best form of learning. Silence is the best form of communication. And how did that happen here? And he said, son said, that, this Krishna, when he was asked that, let him put that particular, his chariot, that who can see those people, then Lord Krishna very intelligently put that particular chariot in front of Bhishma, in front of Dronacharya. Had he put that in front of Kaurava or Dushasana, nothing would have happened to it. So that grief and the Vishada, which was compressed, emotions were suppressed for so many years, and that is how that neurotic condition came, that he wanted that to bring it out. And to bring out that Vishada or the Shoka was the foundation for teaching. So had he put it in front of Kaurava, this Kaurava, nothing would have happened to Duryodhana. But he put it there. And that is how all the problems which were there inside were reflected. Correct? So that is the way the teaching starts, that learn to express the grief and the despondency which is there within us. So that is how the whole teaching came from that. And if you see the problem, if you say that, again, some of the saints saying that, that Bhagavad Gita, when is Arjuna, this kind of problem was there. So what do we learn from this? What exactly was his problem? See, his problem, one way we can understand, is the problem of which is immediately visible to us, correct? That what is good for me, what is not good for me. Should I fight? Should I not fight? Is it wise for me? The people are related to me, they are my dears and near ones, is it right? But the first problem is this, immediate problem in life, as it appears in life. So this is actually the essence of Bhagavad Gita, that it has got twofold problems, The first problem is very apparent, that this is what has happened. Is it right? Is it wrong? What should I do like that, And second problem is more fundamental. Second problem is more fundamental. What is the ultimate goal of my life? What is the ultimate destination of my life? And how does this problem relate to that? And if I address this particular problem in a particular way, how is that going to help or not help in my life at that stage? So that is the original thought, that what the real goal of my life, what am I going to achieve, even if I win this battle, this and that, like that is it. So ultimately it related to the ultimate realities of life. So one of the key messages here is in Bhagavad Gita also that any problems which happen to us or which we experience in our life, in our immediate vicinity, is a reflection or the precipitation, if you call, of that ignorance of the self. Ignorance of the self. So once we do not know the self, the true knowledge of the self is not there, it leads to series of problems in life, If we know who we are in essence, as Raman Maharshi said, that we just go on imploring, and if I know myself in essence, there is no problem, there is no world, nothing like that. So all the problems are basically, this is the root cause from which all the problems are precipitating. And that is the Ajnana or the ignorance of Swarupa. Again, the great sages have said, that you may be a highly enlightened person. You may be a very great speaker and thousands of people will admire you. Or any particular secular subject, you might be the master. You learned everything. But still it is possible that you will be ignorant about your own self. So any amount of knowledge, acquisition of any other secular subject, people may regard you as great. There can be number of degrees awarded to you, number of certificates. People can be just a great number of followers can be there for you. But it's still possible that man will not know his own Swarupa. And because we do not know our Swarupa, this is the fundamental problem of Bhagavad Gita, that ignorance of the self, all the problems arise from that. And because we do not know who we are, what happens? We try to attune ourselves, or we try to identify ourselves with what is non-self. If I do not know the self, who am I? Then I try to attach myself or attune myself with what is called as a non-self. A non-self again is emanating from self, but that is commonly understood as BMI apparatus. That is how Chinmaya Swamiji is calling BMI apparatus, body, mind, intellect. Correct? So it is my physical body, it is my subtle body, it is my causal body. So I identify myself with this three sharira, Sthul Sharir, Sukshma Sharir, and Karan Sharir. And I am not that. Only subtle body is reflecting who am I, but it is not myself, So not knowing myself is the biggest problem. So we identify, attune with a non-self. And all the limitations of non-self become my limitations. Anyonyadhyas, that is the common word there, correct? So the attributes of the self or the Atman are imparted on the non-self. The body looks like living, mind looks like thinking, intellect looks like functional, and all this Chaitanya, what we see, are the characteristics or the attributes of the Atman, which we attribute to the non-self. And the limitations of non-self are taken upon myself. So this is the biggest problem. So I attach or attune myself with the non-self. I try to find, everybody wants Sat Chidananda. Sat means existence. Nobody wants to ever not be there, correct? So Sat is our essential attribute, and it is true also. Because who experiences that I am not there? When you say, Aapka bhav, kabhi bhi aapne experience nahi kiya. Nobody ever thinks that I am not there. Even an atheist will not think that way. So everybody thinks I am. So Sat is a part and parcel of our essential existence. Chit means I know that, that's a knowledge. And Ananda, everybody wants that Ananda. So that Ananda is also means infinity. Ananta. So Ananta or Ananda is my Swarupa. Eternity is my Swarupa. Consciousness is my Swarupa. But I try to find them in non-self, which are not attributes of that. In fact, they are the borrowed. The consciousness of the joy which we see in the non-self is a borrowed consciousness, borrowed light. So that is how man never attains eternal peace or the bliss. And the need is there to focus to the soul, which is the abode, which is the source of eternal existence, eternal consciousness, and eternal bliss. So the problem of Arjuna which was there was not just the immediate problem which he thought, but it was all fundamental problem as to what is good in life, how that fundamental peace and happiness will come to me. And this is a problem of the mankind as a whole. Correct? And it is the Guru which only can help us resolve that. So here Swamiji pays tribute to Guru
Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Deva Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat, Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah, Dhanamulam Guru Murti, Puja Mulam Guru Padam, Mantramulam Guru Vakya, Mokshamulam Guru Krupa. Then he offers prayer to Lord Krishna. And very beautiful kind of a prayer, very unique way it is worded. The first thing is, very common verse is the Krishnaya Vasudevaya, Devakinandanaya cha, Nanda Gopa Kumaraya, Govindaya Namo Namah. This is known to all you, correct? Now, then Swamiji makes his further prayer. It's a beautiful foundation before he goes into Bhagavad Gita. One thing I remember here again, Chidanand Swamiji Maharaj in his many talks has said like this, that when we do anything in life, if we really want to succeed, he said, and sometimes these great sages, they give very simple solution to very intricate problems of life, And he said that if you really want to succeed in life, and again he used to say, success in life or success of life, he used to say. So he said, not success in life, but success of life is more fundamental. Correct? Success in life is temporary. And if you want to do that, what do we do? He said, first thing is, before you start any work, offer prayers. I am going to do this. This is what I have taken. Be it writing an examination paper, maybe attending this class, writing an article, whatever. Just offer prayers. I am embarking. I am just doing it. May you enlighten me. May you give my grace. And then do it in the best of your abilities. And Swamiji again used to say, do as if the whole thing depends upon you when you're doing that job. That should be the devotion, That if you don't do it, will not happen. That kind of a patience you should have for the work. Sincerity, the purpose, And then when you do it at the end, surrender it to the Lord. That's the last step. So that doership, that kartapan, whatever is there, will go away. So initially we offer prayers that may I be able to do this in a proper way. And when you do it, at the end, you offer it. So whatever mistakes were there, whatever limitations were there, whatever doership was there, whatever enjoyship was there, ultimately, there is again an essence of karma yoga also. That we'll try to see. So this is a very secret but a very simple formula that before we do anything, we offer prayers. And at the end, we make it. This is what I could do, Lord. This is how I understood. This is how I understood with my limitations. Accept it the way it is. I don't own it up. You own it up like that, But this is the beauty of that. And here, Swami Shivanji Maharaj, he's putting this beautiful prayer to Lord. And he says to Krishna that you are my sweet companion. You have got a soft corner for me in your heart. So, he takes his favor by saying this, that you have got a soft corner. So Lord will be kind to you like that. And he said that you are said in Bhagavad Gita only, that you are yourself saying you are Vedanta Krit and Vedavit. Where does it appear this? I think 15th chapter, no? Sarvasya Samdasana Vishto. So you are the Vedanta Krit. You have created the Vedanta. You know the Vedas like that. So please explain me these intricacies of Vedanta in a very simple way that I can understand. Then he says that there are various words that use, that very great devotee is there. And then at the extent of his devotion, he is able to get Savijya Bhakti. That he is able to get the Savijya Bhakti, Bhakta is there. Then there are some yogis, and you are also studying that Patanjali Yoga Sutra also, correct? So what does the final say in that Yoga Sutra? Asampagnat Samadhi, correct? Nirvikram Samadhi. So he said the yogis who are attaining Asampragnat Samadhi, or the Jnanis, those who are following the path of knowledge, they get Advaita Avastha. What is the difference? Please explain me, He said, because they look very similar. Your Savijya Bhakti, then if you have got this Asampragnat Samadhi or Advaita Samadhi, please tell me what's the difference. Because we really don't know what are they. And then again, if you go in the 15th chapter, you find that the Lord manifests Purusha in three forms. It is the pinnacle of Bhagavad Gita: Kshara, Akshara, and Purushottama. So, what is the difference between Kshara, Akshara, and Purushottama? So, like that, all questions, which are there in our mind, one by one, he puts all these questions to Lord. And he says that you are my sweet companion, you are my sweetheart. Who else will help me this? Please solve me this. Tell me, answer these problems, and repeat that Bhagavad Gita, what is said to Arjuna. I want to listen through your mouth, none else. So this is the kind of prayer. You look at the delicacy of the prayer, that sometimes when you pray to somebody, that person cannot simply wish you away. He has to think that you have to honor that, and that is how the Lord Krishna addresses that prayer. And we'll continue tomorrow, but just before that, I conclude today. Swamiji gives a very nice answer that whatever problem that we heard about not knowing the self, taking non-self as the self and the problem. And Swamiji says that there are two ways, two paths which solve the problem. And that is what Bhagavan also has done here. In the second chapter, the whole Jnana about the self, what is Atma Tattva, God has said. Now somebody will think to a man who is depressed, who is so much, who is subjected to such a humiliation, neurotic condition, what is the sense of telling this, all this Atma Jnana, and how is it going to help him? But there, Swamiji says that this is a priori method. There are two words. One is priori and posteriori. These are his words. So priori means to directly address the root cause, And that is what the rishis of the yore did that, that by their intense austerities, they could reach to the bottom of the truth, directly hold the truth as it is, take head on like that. So that is one path, priori, directly addressing the knowledge, and then posteriori. So any other subject, art, science, whatever you take, ultimately it will take you to that. And that is called, and we'll see little more detail. How does it happen? How even greatest scientists also ultimately realize that there is beyond this phenomenal existence. Swamiji calls noumenon behind this phenomenal world. Maybe we'll talk more on these words lines tomorrow. But one is priori, so directly addressing the knowledge, and second is posteriori. Any other subject, if you take devotedly, ultimately it will lead you to this self. And that self is not different from Brahman. That is the message of this Mahavakya. That is what great Purushas have lived in their lives, correct? So maybe we'll carry it forward tomorrow. You are saying something? Yeah.